Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Meditation and Spiritual Practice. We are in the month of Elul, and tonight, if you get a chance to look up at the sky, it's not only a full moon, but it's a partial lunar eclipse, and it's a supermoon, which means that it is even brighter. The Earth is actually closer to the moon itself. If you got to see it last night, the moon at all, it was really bright and spectacular, and it will continue to be that way. And for all of us that are headed towards Rosh Hashanah, we know that we have 2 weeks left with the full moon as it begins to wane all the way into that place of darkness, which is all possibility, before it starts to wax again in the month of Tishrei. And there are a lot of wonderful Hasidic stories that are connected parables to try to teach about this time of Rosh Hashanah. And the one that I want to share this morning comes from the Maggid of Mezrich, direct disciple of the Baal Shem Tov, and a great Hasidic master with lots of followers. And he teaches about how a king who sent away his children to a far off land, maybe it was for them to explore, to get experience, to be on their own. Maybe it had to do with, spice trades or whatever it is, but they go to the far off lands and they live there for a period of time, and they're exploring and they're having their own adventures. And at some point they kind of come together and they say, we really miss our father. We miss the king. We miss being in the palace where it's warm and there's always a fire that is burning in the hearth, and the way the light reflects off the marble in the palace, and it has all their memories of childhood and their deepest senses of connection. And so they head out to back to the palace, and they come very close. As they start to get close to the palace, they yell out to the king, and they say, "We're back, we're here," and as they come into the land, and there's no response. No response. And they come a little bit closer to the palace, and they yell out again, and "We're here, we're home, we miss you." There's no response. There's no even messengers that come out from the palace. There's nothing. And after a while, they realize, being in this other land, they've forgotten the language of the king, of their growing up, of everything. They've just been so immersed, and they realize that they're not getting any response because nobody understands them. So, they don't know what to do or how to, because they can't make it into the past the walls into the palace without somebody coming out to let them in. And finally, in just their deepest yearning and their deepest despair, they just cry out, "Ah!" And the king hears. And the king hears, and immediately the drawbridge opens up, and not only does the servants of the king come out, but the king himself comes out with a huge embrace. And the Maggid of Mezrich teaches that crying out is the sound of the shofar. That's what the sound of the shofar is. It's that place that comes from, that's beyond language, that is beyond concepts, beyond ideas, but just that yearning for the divine, for God, for the truth, for connection. And it's that yell and that yearning that expresses not only the desire to be close, but also the pain of being far away. And both are in the sound of the shofar. So part of what we when we practice meditation, part of the opportunity is that we tap into the moment and to our experience in a way that is beyond language and is beyond concepts or thoughts. Even though concepts or thoughts may be present and come in our meditation, we're really opening to just being in the moment, independent of having to label it, define it, judge it, and instead to just be in it. But there's another aspect that meditation can be a pathway, and that's the meditation of the shofar. And it's not just even the hearing of the shofar, which we do each day of Elul of this month, and also, of course, on Rosh Hashanah, but it is the way that we call out in our own being of our desire for connection. And when we meditate in silence, how can we call out? How can we express our desire through the silence? How can we be able to embody the yearning and the pain of distance that is present in us when we really begin to listen and somehow express that even in the silence? Because one of the things that makes that there's a lot of questions about, well, what's the difference between Jewish meditation and Buddhist meditation? And there are so many parallels of awareness, of presence. But what my teacher, Rabbi David Zeller of blessed memory, used to say is, meditation is about Buddhist meditation is about mindfulness, and Jewish meditation is about Godfulness. And those don't have to be different things, but the sense of a presence that I am a part of that is greater than me, and my decision to be in relationship to awaken to that presence is something that makes our practice very Jewish. So we'll take some time in our meditation this morning, and one of the verses that will be kind of the cornerstone of this expression is from Psalm 27. Psalm 27, it's customary during the entire month of Elul, at the end of the morning and evening service, to recite Psalm 27. We do this all the way from the beginning of Elul, all the way to the end of Sukkot, all the way through the High Holy Days. And the line is, Achat sha'alti me'et Adonai, one thing I ask for from the Holy One. Ota avakesh, one thing I request. Shiv ti'i bebeit Adonai kol yemei chayai, that I will dwell in the house of Adonai all the days of my life. Lachazot benoam Adonai, that I will view, I will feast my eyes, I will have vision for the presence of Adonai. Lachazot benoam Adonai uvaker behechalo, and visit God's palace. So it's this one thing, achat sha'alti, one thing I ask for, one thing I request, I pray, only one. It's like you have one wish, you have one desire, it is to dwell in the presence of the Holy One, to be able to see and be present to just the delight of that presence, and to visit through that presence the palace. So we'll start this with our chant. I'll bring in the words one time in Hebrew, and if you're not as comfortable with the words, you don't know it so much, you can just continue with the nigun, with the melody, just knowing what the words mean and in your own space, and then we'll move into the silence. Yada dai dai dai, yada dai dai, yada dai dai, yada dai dai dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai dai dai, yada dai dai, yada dai dai, yada dai dai dai, yada dai 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 dai. Ay, 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 yada, die, 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 die. Ay, 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 yada, die, die, yada, die, die. Ay, 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 yada, die, 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 die. Ay, 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 yada, die, die, yada, die, die. Achat sha'alti me'et Adonai, ota, ota v'kesh. Achat sha'alti me'et Adonai, ota, ota avakesh. Shivti bebet Adonai, koyeme chayai. Lakazot benoam Adonai. Uvaker behekalo. Yadadai dai dai. Yadadai dai yadadai dai. Yadadai dai dai. Yadadai dai 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 dai. Yadadai dai dai. Yadadai dai yadadai dai. Yadadai dai dai. Yada die 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 die. Ay ay ay. Yada die die yada die. Ay ay ay. Yada die 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 die. Ay ay ay. Yada die die yada die. Ay ay ay. Yada die 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 die. Yada die die die. Yada die die yada die die. Yada die die die. Yada die 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 die. Yada die die die. Yada die die yada die die. Yada die die die. Yada die 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 die. Ay, 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 yada, die, die, yada, die. Ay, 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 yada, die, 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 die. Ay, 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 yada, die, die, yada, die. Ay, 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 yada, die, 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 die. Let yourself settle into your chair, closing your eyes, becoming aware of that movement of breath, noticing where the air enters your nostrils or your mouth. Follow the passage of the air through the nostrils and mouth, noticing the expansion of the chest or belly with the inhale. Notice that place where the inhale reaches its maximum length and switches over to an exhale, following the passage of air out through the body, noticing the contraction of the belly or the chest. And then making a decision to pay attention to the next cycle of breath, following the air in through the nostrils or the mouth, noticing the expansion, noticing where the inhale switches to an exhale, and then following the air out. And as you pay attention to the breath, notice your entire body in space. The pressure of your bottom on the chair, the length of your legs as they extend out of your hip sockets, and the resting place of your feet on the ground. Notice the distance between the bottom of your spine and the top of your head. The air that touches your face and all parts of your body where your skin is exposed. Notice the way the arms hang out of your shoulder sockets and the resting place of your hands. Just be aware of your whole body in space, breathing, the expansion, contraction. And as you breathe and pay attention to breath and body sensations, tap into your yearning, to your desire to be awake and aware to the holy presence that's within you, surrounds you. Feel your yearning for that which is beyond, that which is deeper. Tap into that desire to be present, to connect, to see. To understand. One thing I ask for, achat sha'alti, one thing. Let this be your one thing. That desire to be beyond the body, beyond the concepts of the mind. Feel that reaching, the way that your awareness and your yearning penetrates through all the awareness of the body and breath to that which is beyond. So you're fully present with body and breath, but in your own inner being, you're reaching deeper, aware that everything you perceive in your senses is all just the surface level of reality. Let your heart reach deeper, deeper into more love, more space, more expanse. And it's just a practice, this practice of reaching, of being and reaching with our attention and intention. There's no outcome we're looking for. There's no experience we're hoping to have. We're just with our breath and our body, and we're reaching beyond to the one, to the deeper aspects of our experience. And I'm going to be quiet for a period of time and invite you to stay grounded, your attention grounded in that movement of breath and body at the same time that you reach beyond from that place that wants to connect, that wants to return. Yada da da yada da yada da 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 yada da 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 yada da 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 yada da da yada da yada da 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 yada da 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 ay 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 yada da 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 ay 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 yada da da yada da ay 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 yada da 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 ay 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 yada da da yada da achat sha'ati me'et Adonai ota vakesh achat sha'ati me'et Adonai ota vakesh shivti bebet Adonai koyeme chayai lachazot benoam Adonai uvaker behalo yadadai 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 yada da 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 da. Any comments, questions? Things to share. Sherry,
That was lovely. Thank you.
welcome.
That was just lovely. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad.
Yeah.
I did it.
I mean, this is a really good compliment. You're a really good story.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
And it was
Yeah.
a beautiful story too.
Yes. Yes. There are a number of variations on that story. Really interesting. I'm gonna tell a different variation of it on Soul Spark on Friday night, which will be a little bit more extended, and I feel like even touches the heart even deeper.
Yeah.
Sandy.
I was thinking about Psalm 27, and I really need to get it out and be reading it. But the thing that sticks in my mind about it is the line about even your parents are going to desert you. And that used to disturb me. Now in my older age, when my parents are no longer on earth and I see, yes, in fact, they have deserted me. And I think it's about the steadfastness of the potential of recognizing God in your own life that will never have to desert you. That's one of the important themes there, but I wonder if you could direct us to a few other things that we might think about in preparation for Rosh Hashanah that are riches within Psalm 27, because we're directed to read it so much. There's probably lots of amazing things in there.
Yeah, thank you, Sandy. There are, I mean, that line that you quoted too, even though my mother and father abandoned me, you gather me up, Adonai. And I think it's not just, I mean, certainly there's the abandoning that happens with the death of our parents. But it's also, it's also that for a lot of our lives, we rely on our parents for support, for affirmation, for recognition, for all different things. Maybe not all of us, maybe a lot of us gave up on that a long, long time ago, depending on who our parents were. But there comes also a place where we, where we also realize that
Is he
that
here?
our support
Oh,
can't
he was
just
doing the call already.
hold on 1 second. That even as well-meaning as they might be, that ultimately that kind of validation, affirmation, presence, support can only come from the root of our being, that and that kind of that accepting and that embodying is so important. Other a lot of that line of achat sha'alti, one thing I ask for, is there's similar themes, similar kind of requests or asking that's throughout the psalm. Another one is al tastir panecha, don't hide your face from me.
Right.
And that's a really beautiful one too. Don't hide your face from me, because it's really kind of acknowledging that even in this moment that um, I may not be aware of the divine presence, that's only because it's hidden. It's hidden in the moment, not because it's not there. It's just hidden. So again, kind of that asking, and there's something in the asking that is also connecting, because when we ask, don't hide your face from me, I'm already affirming that your face is present. It's just hidden. And even that affirmation puts me in there. There's also a lot of themes in Psalm 27 about our enemies, trying to trying to cut us down, trying to make us low. And this isn't really, the way that I've always read this and davened this is it's not all, it's not something that's just about being in a war situation, of our enemies, but that there are a lot of people in our lives that don't see us, that are thoughtless in given moments, that we they're just doing their thing and saying, putting out, but they say things that might hurt, that are insensitive, that are whatever. And the psalm is another place of just being able to say, God, you're spreading over me a shelter, a sukkah, of your awareness. I don't have to be, I don't have to look for my own validation in those other people. You're my validation. So all good stuff.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.
Maury.
Oh, you talked about mindfulness versus, I forget if you said godfulness or godliness, godfulness, but I feel like mindfulness is what you teach us, that to be, open to what's inside ourselves and how we're connected with the whole universe. I'm not sure I can make the distinction.
Yeah, I think ultimately there doesn't have to be a distinction, but it's also, and maybe for those of us that that don't feel as much of a distinction is just because kind of it might be that the reality of God is just in our lives, not as something that's out here or beyond us, but is just that when we're really present in a deep way with ourselves and with our surroundings, we begin to experience that divine presence that's there. And I think the only, I think my point in kind of making the distinction is it's one thing to say, I'm going to be present in this moment with my moment to moment experience, with my breath, with my sensations, with all of that. And then I guess the question is, for what purpose? For what purpose? You know, is it just because I want to be relaxed? Is it because I want to, you know, have some kind of experience? Is it because I want to perform well in my life? You know, if I'm an athlete or a musician, being present is going to help me do everything. And all of those can be benefits of mindfulness, of that kind of practice. But I think when we start to think about it as Godfulness, the sense is that the reason why I'm being present is because I want to open to the connection and the presence that I am a part of. There's an acknowledgement that I'm a part of something greater. And that is something that takes my attention and even the mode of my practice beyond myself, beyond just being present with what I call me. And instead, a recognition that I'm part of something larger, which we can call God.
Well, I feel that that is the message that you give.
Good, good. Mindfulness, Godfulness, whatever you want to say, it's all good. It's all God.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Good. So few things just to note. This weekend is Soul Spark Shabbat and Jerusalem Shabbat, so both two meditative services and community. The other thing I want to let people know about High Holy Days is that there are going to be a couple different specifically meditative experiences on the High Holy Days. On Rosh Hashanah, on the second day of Rosh Hashanah, well, first of all, for those who have attended services in the chapel, you'll know that kind of meditative awareness is something that comes in and out through our services in the chapel for High Holy Days. But specifically on second day Rosh Hashanah, we're having a Jewish renewal style service, which is going to be filled with meditation and chanting in the sanctuary, led by Rabbi Aviva Funke, who's a colleague of mine. She's here from Arizona. And besides running our family services on Rosh Hashanah day 1 and Yom Kippur day 1, she's also just a wonderful leader of spiritual spaces. And there'll be music and musicians that will accompany that. And that will be happening in the sanctuary on the second day of Rosh Hashanah at the same time as our conservative second day service will be happening in the chapel. And I'll be kind of going back and forth between both of the services. So you'll see me at either one of those, but that's going to be an experience on Rosh Hashanah. It's going to be followed by a lunch, a potluck lunch. So that's happening second day. And then on Yom Kippur, in the afternoon at 4 p.m., I will be leading a meditative avodah service. So, and what that really is that in the Yom Kippur liturgy of the day, within the Musaf service, there is a whole section called the avodah service. And it's a recital of exactly what the high priest would do, all the steps on the Yom Kippur service of burning the incense and changing his clothing and doing a mikvah immersion and entering into the Holy of Holies space. And so what we've been doing, really, I think since I arrived at Temple Bethel, is we break out that service. We don't do that service in the morning, but instead at 4 p.m., kind of lead a meditative shamanic experience where each one of us imagines that we are the high priest. There's drum in the background, and it's kind of an inner adventure inside to do some of the inner work using the imagery of the high priest. So it's if you haven't experienced before, it's very unique. I think it's very special. That's at 4 p.m. on Yom Kippur afternoon. And then, of course, the final services that will finish Yom Kippur up into sundown. The Ne'ilah service is also very special and powerful. Any questions before we sign off about any of the upcoming events?
Is it this Friday, the Soul Spark?
Yes, this Friday. Okay.
Would you have a few minutes, Rabbi, after we hang up? Can I stay on for a minute or
Yeah, I've got about maybe exactly maybe like 3 minutes. Yes.
the most? Thank you. I'll stay on.
All right. Take care, everybody. Have a
Thank
wonderful
you. See y'all.